Okay, I'd like to call to order the city council meeting of Tuesday, December 13th to order. Rise for the invocation, stay rising for the pledge of allegiance.
God, our creator of all there is and ever shall be, we want to thank you tonight for bringing our city up and raising it to the point that it is now. We ask you to continue raising it, to continue blessing our little city, blessing our council, our mayor, our city manager, and all the workers. We ask you to bless the residents. For this we are thankful. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Miss
Mayor Dale Massad.
Here.
Vice Mayor Terrence Rowe.
Here.
Councilwoman Nancy Britton. Here. Councilwoman Jenny Sorrell.
Here.
Councilman William Dittmer.
Here.
City Attorney Jim Matthew.
Here.
And City Manager Vincent Lupo.
Here.
Do I have a motion to approve the council minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Announcements from staff.
Did you say staff?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and council, I'd like to give you a quick thumbnail update on where we stand with several of the grants that we've been working with. First of all, the Restore Act grant. We are still waiting for the money to be released from the United States Treasury. That's an approximately $1 million grant, and it's still being held back up in Washington, D.C. We, as you will recall, had a pretty terrible time with Hurricane Hermine. We wound up submitting to FEMA losses in excess of $2.5 million. We have, in fact, submitted applications to FEMA for a grant, and we've been notified that our grant, our application has been accepted, and we're waiting for additional information from FEMA as to what they will deem acceptable from our presentation to them. So we're looking forward for that documentation coming from FEMA. As you remember, we received the FERDAP grants, the checks for $50,000 each. We are in the process of the next grant for an additional $50,000. We've submitted that and for waiting further word from them with respect to that. We most recently submitted a grant from the Coastal Community Gulf of Mexico Alliance in the amount of $45,000. Excuse me. That's a 50-50 grant. It relates specifically to the issues and damages relating from the hurricane as it affected the Sunset Mobile Home Park. So those are the grants that we're currently involved in, and we continue to search for additional grants. Just wanted to make council aware where we stood with these grants.
Okay. Jenny, Will?
Nope.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but to put a little kudos for Mr. Lupo, I believe we've turned off about half of the water we're buying from Newport Richey as of now, and I believe we're shooting for the minimum we have to buy in emergency. And just for fun, I'll have to tell you that Newport Richey just put in a 4% increase in their water rates. So thank you, Mr. Lupo. Do you have a sign-in sheet for me? Thank you. Okay, Tom, you're on.
Thomas Brown, 7436 Candlelight Court. Some people believe that a person or some people went into the woods near the eastern end of Orange Grove Avenue and dug a hole more than 160 feet wide and more than 460 feet long. I don't believe it. I have requested from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers a copy of the permit to dig this 77,500 square foot hole. I have not yet received a response, but you will be the second to know when I do. I anxiously await the installation of the new city building official in January. Hopefully, he will understand why a resident of the city cannot be permitted to erect a fence on property that the resident does not own. Perhaps the new building official will know, or after reading our city ordinances will know, that our ordinances apply equally to residents on both sides of the street. If our new building official will not correct the blatant violations that were perpetrated by our permitting department, our former city manager, and a former building official, I will request help from WTSP Channel 10 Action News. They brag about stopping governments from bullying their residents. I'll ask Mike Deason to ask the city for proof that Lake Cox was dug. While he or Noah Pransky are at City Hall, I want them to find out why a resident on one side of the street has to meet the requirements of city ordinances in order to obtain a permit to erect a fence, while a resident on the other side of the street does not have to abide by the city ordinances. Thank you.
Tom, I just have to, before this is all over, I'm gonna channel all of that energy into something we're gonna have to get productive.
Oh, the easement that's 10 feet wide and goes right to the lake.
Well, in my humble Jake Engineering thought pattern is that's where it was dammed up. So I don't think they dug the rectangle. I don't know, but I don't know where we're going with this if we get there. So I'd just like you to go back there, walk on that piece of land, look on your right, you'll see a lake. Look on your left, you'll see a giant swamp. It appears to me that that was dammed. That, for what it's worth. Okay? And then I'm gonna run you for council, because you're a persistent sucker. That is all.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lord.
Leonard Lord, I pastored 8114 Leo Kidd Avenue. First of all, I missed the fishing trip yesterday, Terry and Mayor. Kristen was supposed to call me, but I heard you had a good time. We were going to take a couple of vets too, but I found out after the fact, so kind of slipped through the thing. So I'm sorry I didn't get to serve there with y'all on that. I really want to thank the city, particularly the chief and captain. They came out to minister to people in need there on Thanksgiving Day. So we just thank you. Brought their families out. So it's just a joy to serve together. So first of all, I just want to thank the city and letting them be a part of that and coming out. Also, most of you got this last meeting, but we're having our Christmas community dinner for Port Richey at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. in our fellowship hall at Leo Kidd Avenue. It's for a time to celebrate Christmas and a fellowship meal. Just, working together for a peace-loving, helpful city to honor and serve one another. Also, at noon tomorrow, we'll be meeting with some people, praying and planning on our night in the park. So normally we meet there, we meet every Wednesday at noon for the community and different leaders. So you're always invited. But I would especially like to invite everybody here and neighbors and whoever would to come join us tomorrow night at 6 o'clock for the Christmas meal. The menu, as best I got, it's ham and turkey and stuffing and also the desserts and fixing. So if you could come join us. Also, the 21st, and it'll be, again, is our monthly luncheon, and that'll be over in our fellowship hall. That's also to gather community leaders together as we strategize and pray for the area. So thank y'all for what you do. We're praying for you. And remember, we can give our children the fairy tale of Christmas, or we can really tell them that God loved us and sent Jesus, and through Jesus we can find the love and the peace and the joy that really we all should be living in. So Lord bless you, and all of you have a great Merry Christmas, and thank you for all you do. Lord bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Spalding.
I have Sandra Spalding, 8207 Old Post Road. I have to discuss a scam that's going around, and I'm hoping maybe you put it in the newsletter. I've been being bothered with phone calls, and they say it's the publishing company. And we know they knock on your door if you win, and they bring you your gift. You don't have to go to Walgreens or Western Union and get a check for $190 and so on and so forth. And they've given me numbers of a policeman in California and different numbers to call. But it is a scam. And seniors especially have to be careful because it sounds so real sometimes, and it's not. The last call I got was this afternoon, about 3 o'clock. They just keep calling me, and I did call our police. At first I had made arrangements to meet them at 1 o'clock, but it was in such short notice, but the policeman came at 1:30, and I had already said, no, I changed it to try to catch them. But what I've been told is this, and it's very, very important, and I hope you put it in on the website or whatever you do, is that once you give them that money, it's not against the law. You gave them the money. So just warn people to be very, very careful. Thank you. Now I'd like something else to say, if I may. I still got some time. I want to thank Vince personally and for many of our residents. We're not raising our water. We're working diligently with our city workers on the wells. We're trying very hard to keep our city running on less money. Because I got up here before he came back to us, and I pleaded with the council to vote him on. Well, I want to say, I am so proud and so grateful that you guys did that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else from the public? Mr. Todd.
Matthew Todd, 5113 Mallet Drive. I want to thank you for being our mayor. I want to thank Vince for being our city manager, Mr. Matthews for being our city attorney, and the other council members. And I want to thank you for helping us with all the council members and the mayor for the fishing trip for the veterans yesterday, and our police chief as well. And I think our city is moving in the right direction. And if it was up to me, I'd like to give you all bonuses for the money that you saved and the way you're turning this city around. Now we have a city to be proud about. We got a police chief to be proud of. We have a mayor, city manager, attorney, and council members. I can't tell you how much the residents in my area, and when I go out, how much They can't thank you guys enough, especially turning the water department around. We've been saying it for years, and you guys did it. I cannot thank you enough. And I wanted to thank Sunset Landing for helping us with sponsoring the fishing trip for the veterans yesterday, especially Kristen Tonkin. Thanks. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, Mike. Okay, everybody in the public good? Bring it to council. Any thoughts? Did I hear something?
Okay.
Any thoughts? Mr.
I'll go.
Monroe?
The fishing event was very nice yesterday. I was glad that I was asked to be a part of it, so I could drive a boat, because it was nice to be able to serve and give something back to these gentlemen that gave for us, and continue to take us forward. It was a good day. Weather was a little rough. Fog was very thick, but we did get some fish, and all the veterans got to eat very well after it was over. So I think it was a great success. I hope we do it at least once a year. The other thing is Merry Christmas to all staff, all our citizens. Happy New Year. Looking forward to a bright and happy New Year. I hope we are making progress across the board and out into the land. I'm looking forward to new prospects, new things to happen, and I'm really excited to see and hopeful that the future will be bright, cheery. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Thank you. Well, I'll add, with Terry, had a great fishing trip with the veterans. I think they enjoyed it immensely. An outshoot of that was that Steve O'Neill came over and cooked the fish for us. And we have to remember that we're all one city. And Steve served us for 10 years and very well. And we have to reach out to the people with experience and go forward all together, no two sides. That's one thing. Number two, I brought it up to the chief real quick, load you up a little more. Going out of, on Leo Kidd, if you can picture going north on Leo Kidd at Ridge, you can turn right on Red. But the entrance to their park is probably 30 yards from that turn. So the right turns, people come in and they're trying to get into their entrance. And I'd asked the chief, and I'm gonna ask Jim, and he's gonna give me some smart answer. Can we not put, Leo Kidd is a city road, can we not put a no right on Red sign there? Because somebody's gonna get hurt, they feel, and I think after looking at the situation, they're probably right.
If you ask me from a legal standpoint, I'd have to check if that's our street or not, but I believe we can. Whether you should or not, I'd have to defer to the chief. But that is, it can't be done. Yeah, I was gonna say, it's a city street. I'd triple check that, but if so, we do the regulatory signs, it'd be under I'd have to check, but I'm pretty sure of that. Now, whether you want to or not, it's this gentleman's decision there.
I know what the mayor's talking about. It's hard for the residents to turn, the residents that are going westbound, to cut across the bridge when the people are making that right on Red. It doesn't
Or
make
the
any sense.
residents that are going eastbound to get over to that lane when they've turned right. So, I think it's a good idea, and they're all for it. If you'd like, we can meet with them, or you could just schedule a meeting with them yourself.
I'll get the information.
But I'd like to go forward with that. There was another request, Mr. Murphy. Most of you don't know, we've had ongoing discussions with the county about the flooding at Suncoast, and one of their comments was, did Honda ever fulfill their retention pond plans from their original, application? And the reason is I didn't remember seeing a lot of water in that retention pond. If there is, the next question would be, does it go under 19 and out? Because that would be a partial solution if we could just go right under Leo Kidd and into the Honda Pond and out to the Gulf. Is that ringing any bells or any thoughts?
I have no personal knowledge of that, Mayor.
No.
I'd have to defer to the building department. I couldn't tell you what the
Right.
requirements are in any way, shape, or form. If there was something they were supposed to do that didn't do, I could look at that, but
Yeah, I
until
think
someone tells me otherwise or shows me, I really can't answer your question. I have to
Why
defer
can't
to the
they,
building
why can't they go deeper in the park? Oh, I was mentioning something about that, in the Suncoast Park. Why can't they also, along with whatever you're
go-
discussing, dig out some more and go deeper with their retention pond? I mean, they've flooded so many times, you'd think by now they would have considered that.
Well, and Nancy, I think the answer, an answer is, the county pumps it in,
Yeah, it
and the
comes from
county
right out.
has the outflow. Michelle Baker told me it was an 8-foot outflow, it is not. I went and measured that. So we're pumping, yes, I guess they could, but I don't think it would be an adequate amount to make a big difference with the amount of water that's coming in. Going under Ridge, on the other hand, would, I hope, make a lot of difference. And that's, again, up to the county. We've been sparring back and forth. But Mr. Lupo and Jocelyn I got a harebrained idea about a grant, and I put everything together except the grant. So Jocelyn finished it out, and I thank you very much. I think, Vince, you had some thoughts on how we'd use that?
Yes, Mayor. If in fact we are fortunate enough to obtain the grant, now the grant, there will only be 3 municipalities in the state of Florida that will in fact be awarded a grant. So the likelihood of us obtaining that grant is questionable, although that we submitted quite a bit of information, including the damage reports that we obtained from the mobile home park. But essentially what we'd like to be able to do with that, with those funds, is place 2 large specialty pumps and have them ready for and if an emergency occurs, where we can just roll them right out and begin immediately pumping. And that is a stopgap measure. The real measure, the real mitigation belongs somewhere in the county's jurisdiction. And the meetings we've had with them relate back to who's going to pay for what, and are you going to share of the burden of the cost. We're still working back and forth with the county. But as far as the grant is concerned, we prepared the grant, we submitted it ahead of schedule, on deadline, and we'll see what happens with the alliance. It's a coastal alliance group, and the grant is for $45,000. It's a 50-50 grant, 22.5 and 22.5.
Does anybody know the history? Because when I first moved here in 1986, I don't recall them flooding like they are today. So I just wonder when all these flooding issues started, because up until really, I think, the No-Name Storm, and I don't even know if they even flooded in the No-Name Storm. I'm not even sure that they did.
I don't know the exact history, Councilwoman, but we can certainly look it up and try and put up some timetable.
Just to see how long it's been going
Certainly.
on. When, you know, I mean, if it only started 20 years ago versus 30 years ago, what happened during that time? Maybe we can pinpoint that. Of course, we've had a lot of building, but really, I mean, you think about it, this side of town from the Magnolia Valley area and downward, pretty much has stayed the same over the last 30 years. I mean, there's some new construction up there in Magnolia Valley. There's a smaller subdivision that's been built up there, but as far as like large subdivisions or anything like that,
I think you have a finger on part of the problem, and that is new growth and some of the additional modifications the county has made to its own drainage systems. And part of that has impacted the mobile home park, but we'll take a look and see if we can come up with some numbers for you.
and the most interesting thing was about, I want to say 8 months ago, maybe longer, 9 months, 10 months. I called Jack Mariano because on the corner of Little Road and Massachusetts Avenue, they started just completely clearing out all that area up there. And I asked Jack why they were doing that, was something being built? And he basically said, no, nothing was being built, but they really cleared it. I mean, they even took oak trees down, and left a lot of palm trees, and so I thought they were gonna be building something, but then all of a sudden it stopped. So I thought, well, what are they clearing? Is that part of, trying to help alleviate any kind of issues with the floods? I don't know, I'm just bringing that up, because I just thought that was odd that they went in there and did that, and then nothing happened from there.
Nancy, it's very interesting that you said that, because one of the residents over there said the exact same thing. I think she pinned it down to like 98. They never had any floods, and then suddenly they're flooding every 2 or 3 years. And I don't know what changed either, but they
I don't remember them flooding
shared
like
your
this.
thoughts. So,
Because when my kids were young, I used to go over there, I had a couple friends that lived over there, so, a woman I actually worked with, and that's what I'm saying, and if you're saying 98, that makes sense, because that
that's
was quite
about
a
what
few
they
years.
think, and I wasn't here then. So, more not on the agenda stuff. Jim, is it illegal for us to put a mirror so that Suncoast residents that are coming out of their park, that wall I knocked down did not work enough? And if you had a mirror on to this side, they could see the bicycles coming down that walk. And there's been several accidents.
If you're referring to Ridge Road?
Yeah, right on, well.
On Ridge Road?
It'd be on private property. I
It's
assume.
either private property or county, right?
Yes.
Well, then,
Either way, it ain't.
well, it's not us, yeah, so.
So.
It'd be somewhat problematic putting mirrors on public property.
With the sun, yeah.
We have certain
Okay.
rules, we've got a regulatory side, but that's either private property or the county, so.
The answer to them would be buy a mirror.
I'm not gonna say buy a mirror, because
Well, I
I'm not
mean,
an
whatever
expert
they
in safety.
thought
I'm not
was-
gonna sit here and tell them to buy a mirror, because I haven't studied it, I would defer to the expertise over here.
Would
Whether,
you
you
look
know.
at that, chief? Just on the exit, it is impossible to see east without putting your hood out into the walkway. And there's bikers that
Do you
fly.
have a mirror now mounted to the other wall?
No, that was my second thought.
If you put a mirror on that wall, I don't see a problem with that, it's private property.
Yeah, but I'm not saying the legal problem, I'm just saying, I don't know, you're the
Yeah.
expert, but if
Maybe
you put a
you could
mirror there,
give-
then people rely on mirrors, and then you have the other issue, I'm just a lawyer, I know how to sue both sides,
Yeah, but if you
So in
give
other
them
words, whether that's
advice,
safe or not, I don't know, I'm not gonna.
yeah, if you were to give them advice, the best place to put it, and what would, or if you even think that it needs to be there.
If we give them the advice where to put it, then we become,
The
Say it
issue,
loud.
the issue is, Mayor, is that it is private property. It is a separate private entity that runs it. And if they choose to put a mirror up and wish to do their own personal investigation and have their attorneys give them some definition, it's entirely up to them. But for the city to do that, we would then, particularly if we told them where, when, and how, we assume quite a bit of liability
Okay.
from that perspective. But it's really, it's for a private entity to make that determination, not the city.
Okay, and I'll quit my rampage. Chris, do you know if that retention pond at Honda goes west?
No, I'm not exactly sure which
with Mr. Lupo's okay, would you just check and see if you can find any outlet?
Mr. Mayor, I'll get with staff and see what we can find out.
Okay, I think that's all I've got to rant and rave about. Where are we now?
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's look at this rule.
Excuse me, sir. Did you want to say something about the citrus well drilling?
I'm sorry?
Did you want to mention the citrus well drilling? The payment, the emergency payment that we had?
Approve the consent agenda. Part of that is the emergency repairs to well 6, where we were mandated to make specific repairs to that well. We are still making repairs. We pulled the cap, we pulled the piping, we pulled the pumps. We found out some of the pumps have been burnt. We're in the process of making those repairs. And at the same time, we're cleaning that well out. And we may, in the very near future, move forward to some of the other wells. But immediately, we were required to do this emergency work to get that work done. And that's what that expenditure represents. Most recently, it involved retiming of the pumps and special replacement back with some upgraded pumps.
Okay. A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second and final reading, Mr. Matthew, would you like to take that?
Whoops. I don't, fix that. But I always get this microphone. This is the second and final reading of ordinance 16654 by title only. An ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, imposing fees for lien searches, imposing fees for rush lien searches, authorizing amendments to said fees to be established by resolution, providing for severability, conflicts, and effective date. Looking for a motion approved.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Feathered flags, ladies and gentlemen. I guess I'll take that. You want to take it? This really is gonna, there's no good option except for, as Mr. Lupo's reminded me, the county has put it, what in the hell is going on? Is there somebody under there? The county's gone to great lengths to get away from feather flags. I think that my thought is that they're really not, they may serve a purpose for a opening business, but I think they really end up, no matter what you do, looking a little bit trashy. So
Well, can we also just look at it for maybe events, or give them so many times a year where they can use a feather flag for events or different things that were going on? Not that they fly all the time, but if they have some event going on, would that be all right for them to fly it during that time?
I'm gonna give that one to Jim. I think I've asked some where it flows.
Well, let me go over some of the parameters, and I'll answer that while I do that, make your discussion a little simpler. When it comes to sign ordinances, probably no other issue before a city goes to the United States Supreme Court more, so you have to be very careful. You can, if you want banner flags or pennant flags, you can do it. Generally, your choices are, do you want them permanent or temporary? Usually they're temporary, okay? And you can regulate them not per content, okay? Giving you all the things you have to think about, right? So you can't regulate content, say they can only say this. If you say that you could have banner signs or pennant signs, can't say what can be on them. You can regulate them by zoning district, okay, or land use, all right? So you can say just in commercial, just not in residential, just in residential. You regulate them that. You regulate the size, okay? Whether they're commercial or non-commercial signs. So I guess, can you do them temporary? So of course, yes, sure. If you wanted to say, they can only be put up 4 times a year, 2 times a year, it'd be a little difficult to enforce whether it's the opening of a new business, but if you wanted to do it twice a year, I think that's, you'd put a draft order to someone
Yes.
on that on there, and I think that's why Mr. Lupo put that there. So the only things you gotta talk about is when, where, how many,
Duration.
and when that goes with duration, and size. Now, the size, there's other ordinances I've seen, 15 feet, 14 feet, so many square feet, so it can be described rather easily, I presume that, but how many, and when, okay, and where, whether it's this place or the other place. So you short answer, that's a very long answer to an
Right.
easy question, but yes, you can do that, Councilman. Whether you want to, that's your.
Ms. Britt?
Yeah, just my thoughts on, I agree with Dale. The county doesn't want them, Newport Richey doesn't want them, because they're really making an effort to turn US 19 around, and it's important that they do, and get everybody to buy in. The Board of Realtors is really working diligently on this whole project from county line to county line. The temporary thing, while it's a good idea, who's gonna police it? So
That's-
then, next thing you know, Joe Schmo over here is gonna say, well, my neighbor had it 6 times last year, and blah, 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 so I'm having it 6 times, and you proved to me that he didn't do it, and so on and so forth. It's gonna just turn into a mess. So I say that we just, because these guys are overworked as it is, and the police don't have time to do all that. They need to be, fighting crime, so it's a decision that has to be made, I think, yes or no. There's so many signs out there now. I don't know that we need any more.
Ms. Kim?
I went to Hernando County last week. I was up in that area, and apparently they don't have any regulations on those things up there. And there were areas of that I was in that just looked like a circus because everybody had the flags out. And if you have like 5 or 6 stores in a mall and each one of them wants to put out 2 or 3 of those, then your street becomes like a circus. And I think it's a very tacky looking look, and I don't think any of us want to be driving down an area that looks like a circus.
If I might,
Please.
Mayor, in addition to some of the points that Ms. Britton just spoke to, there becomes a different aesthetic with respect to those signs. The reluctance of the owners perhaps to replace the signs, they weather, they fade, they start to look differently, and the burden will fall upon the building department and the code enforcement officer. And at some point in time, there'll be judgments made by that individual about, does it look right? We're not talking about content, which is not the issue. Do they look right? Are they getting faded? Should they be replaced? And it becomes quite a problem. With respect to what the county is doing, what Newport Richey is doing, and many other smaller cities. In fact, I pulled some research up from Dahlonega, Georgia, and some other communities in Georgia. They are in fact just banning them entirely. And that's the position that you're in now. If you move forward with a limited operation with respect to when, where, times, how many, how often, et cetera, you set up a whole series of parameters that are going to have to be policed, whether it is on the back of a police department or code enforcement, which really it would be. And so it's an additional multiple burden. In fact, some of the communities that have them reluctantly have a whole fee structure set up where they have to come in and get permits, and it goes on infinitum. So it's an issue the council really should vote up or down in one way or another.
And real quick, I've been traveling out to Dade City and Zephyr Hills on a regular basis, and can't recall that I see any out there either.
Sure.
So. And it's lovely out in that area, so I think that we should follow suit.
Well, I agree with everything. The possibility of making an ordinance where they pay a permit fee for new businesses only has crossed my mind. That might be a bad idea, but it would be a permit for X amount of time. They'd pay the fees, and particular file should pull it up, they're gone.
The issue is you are setting up a whole parameter where one class of business has an advantage over another, and a new business versus why can't an old business have signs? So you begin to have an argument
That
that
would be problematic from a legal standpoint.
Exactly.
The categories I gave you are there. If you wanted to say once a year, you can do it once a year, but.
Better be the same day or we'll have a lot of. Let me take this to the public. And I think I have people that would like to speak to this. Miss Claudia Smith.
Claudia Smith, 7335 Candlelight Court. I've been coming to the meetings for a couple of years, and it seems to me, and I'm probably the only one that's gonna say this, but seems to me sometimes we are against business. And so I really thought at the last week about this flag thing, and I thought, you know what, we should do this. But you've got a lot of good arguments, and I think that we have to say yes or no, and we can't make a list of you can do this, but you can't do this, and then you can do this, but you can't do that, because it is gonna tie up personnel that need to be doing more important things, like keeping us from flooding. So I like the flags, I wanna support businesses. I feel like sometimes we're not quite business friendly, and I wish we were a little bit more friendly, but maybe this isn't the thing to do. That's it, thank you.
I have also Sandy Spolky.
Sandy Spalding, 8207 Old Post Road. We are working very hard to bring our city up, to make it look beautiful. The flags get torn, they get blown away. I'd like to work with our businesses. I was in business many years, but we have to find another way to work with them. Now, can you imagine 19 with a bunch of flags on a windy day, and they come popping out and they're all over 19, how dangerous that would be? Think about it. Let's think of something, work with the businesses, you know, have a workshop and see how we can all work with each other in a different way, something that will keep the city beautiful and yet help our businesses. So, my opinion, flags are very dangerous. Thank you.
I'm still in the public. Anyone else in the public wanting to speak to this? Ms. Britton.
I'd just like to make a motion to not go forward with the feather flags in the city of Fort Ritchie.
I'll second.
Okay. Any comments?
No, I tabled this last meeting because you were not here, and I'm sorry, for the record, I had tabled it because Councilman Dittmer was not with us. And being it is small business, I kind of wanted to get his thoughts on it before.
Well, that was my exact point about doing it a couple of times a year. When you are a small business, the cost of advertising is absolutely ridiculous. And sometimes small businesses, all they can afford is a small banner or sign out front. So I guess I have a little empathy for small business in that case. But I understand, I take everybody's points are very valid. But I feel like if we're not gonna do something with the banners, we do, like Sandy said, something for small businesses to help them out, because the cost these days of advertising in any way is astronomical.
Josh, do we still put out that newsletter?
We haven't for the last 2 editions,
Okay.
but I've spoken to Mr. Lupo, and we're going to start again next year.
A suggestion to work with new businesses.
Promote 'em in the
particular,
newsletter. That's,
would be,
you know.
new businesses started in the city and have a column for them, and that might help them.
Right, I mean, a little pro-business is a good thing, you know, it can't be.
We want business there.
If I might,
No,
if I might, we have a waterfront overlay district, and we are about to spend a very large amount of money to aid that waterfront district, because this community is in a very positive, commercial-friendly operation, business-friendly. We're going to put new streets down in waterfront, we're going to put new sidewalks, new lighting, and new signage down there. And specifically absent from that new signage will be feather flags. It's not part of the waterfront overlay district. And I just wanted to make it clear that this city, and in particular, this council, as I'm aware of, my directions are to be as friendly as legally possible with the future development in this community and with the existing commercial opportunities in this city.
Okay, any other comments? I have a motion and a second, and would you repeat your motion, Ms. Britton?
The motion is to not allow feather flags in the city of Port Ritchie.
Okay. Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next. Consideration of cancellation from the 27th.
Correct.
I don't think this is gonna be considered. Do I have a motion? Go ahead.
If I might make a recommendation to council, Christmas is the 25th, which is a Sunday. There will be no, the city has off on the 26th. The regularly scheduled council meeting will be on the 27th. It'll make it extremely difficult for, to prepare any agenda items for council. We would encourage council to do away with the last meeting of the year, which they have normally done in past years.
Motion to approve canceling the December 27th Port Ritchie Council meeting for 2016.
Second.
Okay. Now, if I were to have one alone, could I do whatever I wanted?
No, sir. No, sir.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Old business.
Old business. Okay, I'm bringing this back up because I don't think we fully addressed it on the record. Mr. Montana's request to have the Clark Moody Boulevard running west off of Pine Hill Road, have it repaved. And I believe I brought it up to the city manager and to our utility supervisor, Mr. Hughes. And I would like to know if we have any kind of standing on it at this time.
We have a contract with an engineering company who are doing engineering and who is bringing the potential cost to us. And at that point in time, once we have the cost will come back to city council, and city council will make a determination to whether or not we do have the resources to move forward in any direction with respect to Leo Kidd. It is currently in process, and we're waiting for engineering reports.
Okay, I'm sure Mr. Montana will be happy to hear that.
Pardon me?
I'm sure Mr. Montana will be happy to hear that.
Yes, no? Britton?
No, are you through?
Mhm.
Okay.
She said Mr. Montana would have to be here. Is that?
No, Mr. Montana is I'm sorry to say, would be irrelevant. The issue is whether or not, what the cost is going to be, and whether or not the city can afford to move forward in that direction with that specific street. There are other streets in the city that may have a priority. It's just a matter of what those engineering reports tell us and what those costs will be, and whether we have the money to be able to accomplish the goals that he would like to see, we would like to see.
Okay, so we're just on hold there?
Sure.
Anything, Will?
No.
Old business?
Yeah, I just, no old business. I just wanted to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, all the staff, all the citizens, and hope the police be safe, please, and see you on the fire truck.
That's the last issue, is council will have 2 fire trucks during the parade. One fire truck has the ability for 2 council people, and one has the ability for 3 council people. So we would like to know who is would like to ride on the trucks to go through the city, who would not like to, and then We'll simply place 2 on one and 3 on the other.
What day is that?
The Friday, this coming Friday. At 7 o'clock, it'll wind up in the, at the Waterfront Park.
I'll be there.
Where we'll be distributing toys and other items to the children.
I have to be dropped off at Whiskey River, there's a party there.
Okay, one more old
And
business.
then anybody else going to be on the fire trucks?
Yeah, I'll be there, you can put me wherever.
Okay, the 2, 3, 4.
Can't commit yet.
All right, can't commit. All right, so what we have enough is what I'm saying. If you just let us know before Friday, or even Friday,
We got the L.
we'll assign you to one of the 2 engines and we'll put you on one.
All right, we got
That's it.
that?
Yes, sir.
I got something for old business. Walmart, how are we doing? How is their great answer to our problem panning out, chief?
I approached them about putting security in there.
Uh-huh.
The first week I was back here, and they were pretty reluctant to that. They're losing a lot of money. They have a new policy now where it's no touch, no pursuit policy, so people are just loading up the wagon and walking on out the door. When we get decent intelligence.
How's that work?
Well, they just load up the wagon and walk out the door.
And if they don't touch, they won't
They
touch
won't
you
pursue
now?
them, they're not allowed to touch them. When we get decent intelligence on the people or photos or video, we're pursuing it where we can. We're trying to work with the county, but it seems to be a systemic problem for Walmart since they changed their policy. So we're still there a few times a week. It's getting a little bit better. They're talking about possibly putting a paid detail where we would put.
Why can they not put our guys on?
I'm working on it. See, I'm working on it, and that's a very strong possibility for the overnight hours. So we're pursuing it, but we're met with a
Well,
lot of resistance.
Mr. Matthew hasn't shot his silver bullet yet.
I'll check.
What-
We're on.
What you talked about, I'm very serious about voting on if you can make it legal.
We've met with them a few times. so.
And I'm sick of meeting. I don't meet with them anymore.
I just got a procedure that's in place now for the holidays. There was a police officer staffed at a Walmart up in South Carolina a few days ago, so what I have now for the remainder of the holidays is any calls from Walmart, there's a 2-officer response. And if I'm out or the captain's out, we're both going, so we're not letting anybody go there by themselves. So we'll do that for the remainder of the holiday season, but officer safety is paramount.
Maybe we should have an alert out in the city that nobody should go to Walmart by themselves. I mean, we're gonna have to hit them somewhere, Jim. Come on. All right, I'm tired of railing against Walmart. Anybody wanna go home or you wanna talk a while?
Just one last thing.
Okay.
Irishman's always got to get the last word in. Matt Todd stood up here and thanked everyone. And I've got to say, Matt Todd, his wife Kathy, and Kristen did an exceptional job with that fishing trip we had for the veterans. They have both been very active. They've helped 9/11, bringing military in for that. And I didn't want them to go without a thank you from our city. They've really worked hard, and I want to thank them personally and from this council and from our staff. Thank you, because
Yeah.
they're making things good, good things happen in the city, and I just
They
wanted to
really
single
do.
them out and thank them.
Thank you, Matt and Kathy. And I think everybody enjoyed the event. Did we, who won?
Your vote don't count.
No, we struck 11 mullet before we left the dock.
There was there was a contest?
I don't know, I was gonna make
We have
one.
one good red on our vote, so.
I
Good
just,
red. There was a lot, I got a bunch of fish left over, anybody want?
I'll make a motion to adjourn, but before that, just want to let everybody know that I thought we were all going out together, and when we hit the last marker, everybody just kind of went to the, and I found myself alone with 2 gentlemen in my boat and no navigation. Thank God I had my phone with me.
You were the same way, stuck in the pond.
I stopped and offered you bait, and you said you had no bait well.
I appreciate the
think of
bait, but
those
it was
things.
really nice that I was able to come back.
I will accept your motion.
A motion to adjourn, yes.
All in favor?
Aye. Happy
That's the way
holidays,
to run a
everybody.
railroad. Happy holidays, everyone.